Hi, and welcome to another session to Female Disruptors' second annual virtual summit. Thank you so much for joining us this session. And today I'm happy to introduce Loubna Zarrou. And Loubna is a transformational leader. We've known each other for a couple years now, met in the creator, one of our creator communities. And Loubna is coming from the Netherlands. And I'm going to turn it over to her and let her give a little bit of her background, and can't wait to hear all of her wisdom about how to be a transformational leader. So Loubna, tell us a little bit about your background, and then we'll get started with some questions, some interview questions with you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so very much, Lisa, for having me, and welcome to you. You made a great decision to invest in yourself, and we're happy that you've done it. It's really important that you do invest. It has the best return on investment. So a little bit about me. If we were to go back in time, you would know that I started my career in the IT. I was one of the very few women back then. I mean, we're talking about more than 2 decades, who was working in transformational projects. I mean, I was helping doctors make the transition from paper patient records to digital records, and I'm still passionate about IT business. But fast forward to my career, what I also discovered is that everything that we do, everything that we say, everything that how we show up, how we express ourselves has an impact. And I found it fascinating that a lot of people put on masks when they are working in the professional context. So I made the transition to become a mindset and performance coach. And I do 3 things. I help you smash any limiting beliefs because they hold you back. I help you set and achieve meaningful goals. And I help you soar in your confidence levels and motivation. And you can do that as a transformational leader.
I love that. And one of the things that you specialize in is showing people that you don't have to necessarily have a leadership role per se, or a title to be a leader. And can you talk a little bit to that and what that looks like?
Yeah, so one of the things that I've learned is that in many organizations, people like to call themselves leader. It's like a great title to have, and you're only a leader when you have that title. But the more that I lean into who I really am and what I'm passionate about and my purpose, and it took many years, it didn't happen overnight. The more people were starting following me, and they were like, oh, I see you as an example, and I see you as a role model. The very first time someone said that to me, I went like, really? I'm just going with the flow here. I'm just doing what I feel that I need to do and I'm called to do. But I recognize that there are people that are watching what you say and what you do. So for me, and even more so, I found myself in situations where the formal manager, the one who had the title, didn't get the attention that they wanted from employees. They had to really force people to do something. And I'm like, what's the difference here? I don't have a formal title, and people seem to love working with me, ask me a lot of questions. What's going on? And I mean, this is decades ago. I learned that there's a difference between being a manager and being a leader, and that anyone, even if you don't have the formal title, can be a leader as long as you have people that see you as an example.
And so what does that look like? How can you be an example?
I think recognizing that, one, being aware of the fact that you could be a leader and that you might already have people watching you. They might not be telling you, but there are always people watching. And the second part is leaning into what's the example that I want to set. What's the type of role model that I want to be? And you don't have to be loud. I mean, I know that I'm an ambivert, so I'm both extrovert as well as introverted. I love my alone time. So you don't have to be loud to be a leader, but to recognize that there are people that are looking up to you and saying, oh, I want to be that person when I grow up. And when you recognize that, is to use it to your advantage, to lean into that even more, because you can create a ripple effect of positive change, and to make a connection to the mission, become unstoppable.
I love that. So you had mentioned earlier when you were just giving us your background, how you used to be in IT, and then you also found your purpose and you're doing what you're doing now. So asking for a friend, how did you find your purpose? You know, how did you actually know, like, this is my purpose? And also, how did you then switch out of what you were doing for X amount of years into being a business coach and completely transitioning into something different?
One of the ways that I lean into my calling and my purpose was after I had so many people in the context of a large organization. I mean, at this time I was still in a job and I was working for the Dutch government, which is a bureaucratic hierarchical organization. I had a lot of people that came to me and said, you only do what you enjoy doing. Now, bear in mind that that was completely normal for me. I had no idea that it was abnormal for other people. So it took about, I think, about 25 to 30 people to ask me that during a period of time, and especially in a couple of months. And by the time person number 30 asked me, I'm like, why are all these people so asking me this with admiration almost? And I'm like, but this is normal. And I just didn't realize that it was not normal for a lot of people in the context of the professional world. And I thought, well, wait a minute, I need to shift my words. And that's an example of how I recognized that I was being a role model while I didn't realize it. I wasn't aware of it until all of those people asked me. So I shifted and said, every time that someone says, you only do what you enjoy doing, I said, but you can do that too. And then something really weird happened, because most people would say, no, I'm different. I'm like, okay, again. And I was again in the phase of, okay, well, that's your decision, go for it. It took about this time 20 people for me to recognize the tone of their voice and the words. And I'm like, if you all think that I was born this way, you're mistaken. And that's the story that I started sharing. I said, if you had known me when I was 14 years old, you would have met the most shy girl in the world. I didn't get here by birth or it was nature. I nurtured this and it had grown. So if I can do it, so can you. And that's the moment where a lot of people started saying, can you coach me? Can you help me? And I thought, I think I'm supposed to guide these people. And that's when I made the decision to let go of a job, financial security that comes with that, and say, you know what? I want to spend the next decade, because I was looking at 10 years working as an IT auditor at that time. I want to spend the next 10 years guiding people, helping them, because there's so much more to live up to your potential and become unstoppable if you choose to be so, than what most people are thinking and doing right now.
That's amazing. And I'm like so proud of you for guiding people, because people don't even realize that they actually need the guidance that that they're asking you for. And just asking, oh, how are you always so happy, is the first indication of maybe somebody is unhappy trying to find their own happiness. And one of the points that you brought up, and we're going to talk about now, I want to transition, is how transformational leadership can be a superpower. And transformational leadership, I mean, what does it even mean exactly? It can be, it's kind of a buzzword. So how do you define transformational leadership, and how can somebody take it on as a superpower?
Awesome. So my definition of transformational leadership is that you as the leader not only create the vision and help people achieve the goals to make that vision a reality, your work is also geared towards helping people become their best self. So you're also empowering and inspiring them. So it's not just, okay, we've got a vision and we broke that vision down into different goals, and you're going to contribute to goal A, B, and C, or maybe Z, whatever that is. And that's the traditional view of leadership in most cases. But what I love about transformational leadership is that you help people do that. You create the vision, inspire them to contribute, but you also help them develop themselves at the same time. So it's both personal and professional growth. And I believe that when you realize that A, you are a leader, you don't need a formal title. B, if you lean into transformational leadership and not only focus on the goal setting and the vision part, but also the how can I help people lean into their strengths? How can I help them become more self-aware, reflect on who they are and how they express themselves? We can create a massive ripple effect that can go into the millions of people that are impacted by that.
Yeah, and I want to run something by you because I went through this over the past year or two. And I think that this has a lot to do with really finding your purpose and really creating space in your mind to let it kind of come in naturally. And
Yeah,
what I realized a couple years ago is that for the past like 15, 20 years, being an entrepreneur, I was always, very much focused on more of the analytical side of my brain,
yeah,
and even though I had like the creative side, I didn't really let myself go to that. And then once I let go and like started doing like, just maybe artwork or reading or things that, fiction reading, things that were not so much like focused and analyzing things, that you come up with these ideas and you can actually like see what you're like drawn to naturally to go in that direction. But if you don't give yourself
yeah,
that space in your day, like how do you even see it?
yeah. No, totally, definitely. I think that there's what I've seen from personal experience is that a lot of people are attracted to the busyness. Let me just be busy, 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 busy. Whether it's productive, you can ask that question. I believe that not a lot of people are really that productive. I mean, I've worked in several sessions this week with people, and I thought, oh my God, you're just busy. You're just focused on the busyness and not the productiveness. And I used to be like that. Let me be really honest. I used to be that person. I'm goal driven. I'm results oriented. Just tell me where we're going, and I will go, and I'll go fast usually. But in the busyness of that life, your calling, your purpose needs to find you, but that only finds you in the stillness. Remember what I shared earlier in that time together is that it didn't hit me after 30 people told me you only do what you enjoy doing. I needed the 30 people because so busy in my head focusing on goals, 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 and achieving them that I needed that amount to realize, wait a minute, what's going on? What am I supposed to be hearing and learning in this moment that I'm not catching on? And then again, it took me another 20. And I thought, wait a minute, but when I just sit still and just let it be, and you can do anything, you can do art, you can do meditation, you could just be still and do absolutely nothing, because in that stillness, you're opening yourself up to the opportunity of your calling arriving at you and saying, this is what you're supposed to be doing. And I think that that's the beauty. If you are right now hustling, grinding, moving, just going, go, 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 try a couple of moments of stillness. And if you have never done it before, try 5 minutes and see how that feels. Now, the very first time you're going to do this feels extremely uncomfortable because your mind will be racing and tell you, hey, you got that to do, you got that to do, you got that to do, you don't have time for this. But the more you do this, the more your brain says, oh, this is what we're doing right now. And the higher the likelihood of you listening to those thoughts that are telling you this is what you're supposed to be doing. And now it's not, I don't need 60 hours a week or 80 hours a week to achieve my goals. I need a lot less because I'm focused and I'm really clear about this is what I'm supposed to do. And not everyone is ready to receive that.
Yes. And what do you say to, I have friends and colleagues that are very, very good at what they do, and they've been doing it for a long time, but they just hate it. They just really hate it. And they don't know what else to do because they've been doing it for so long and they're making great money. And, it's just, how do you transition when you've been doing something for such a long time?
Yeah. Well, first of all, the first part is to take some time. A transformational leader takes time to self-reflect and to take stock of where am I? What are those strengths that I have mastered, where I'm really good at it? You might not be able to enjoy it, but what are those strengths? And what are those strengths and things that you enjoy doing? And then start to think, okay, what if I start asking myself, and you can journal this, the question, what if I could use these strengths in a different context? What if, how can I translate this, all the things that I know, all of the things that I can do, all of the things that I have mastered up to this point, and look at it differently. What if I take on a different position? So it takes a transformational leader uses self-reflection as their superpower. They use it always. They're always thinking, okay, what am I trying to learn? What is this telling me? Why don't I enjoy this anymore? And it's a lot of questions that you need to ask yourself. You can do this yourself, but sometimes you need someone else to ask you these questions and force you to answer. But I would just start by journaling. What do I enjoy about this? What do I lean into more? Because there's already something that you were spending a lot of time, energy, and attention on that you actually enjoy. You might not be able to be aware of it to make decisions towards that.
And I bet that this can be applied also to family dynamics as well, being a transformational leader within your family. What does that look like?
So again, we'll go back to we have a vision, we have goals at the one hand, and we have personal growth in the other. And within a family, we've got different people. So if you use your self-awareness and think about, okay, how does this family member express themselves? Are they more goal-driven, or are they more person-oriented? Are they more about the relationship, or are they more about what can we do together? Do they enjoy nature? So really step back and say, what can I learn about this person on how they want to express themselves in the best way? And how can we make the connection together so that we form that family group and thrive together and move towards something that we can all be very happy about?
I love that. And I know, Loubna, this is how we met, is through being futurists and being part of the Web3 economy and experimenting. So as a transformational leader, what tips can you give about using innovation and tech to your advantage? And then also, what should you not do?
Yeah, well, transformational leaders and why it's a superpower and what makes a good transformational leader, I think that there's three things. One is they lean into self-awareness. So you know yourself, you get to know each other. You use self-reflection as one of your strengths. So you reflect on what's happening, what's the impact. And the third one is you're continuously learning. So as a transformational leader, you have a vision of the future. You are seeing something that other people are not seeing yet. And as a result, you need to be open to everything that's happening in the world. And that means also being open to Web3, because it's here already. It's not even the future, it's here already. But it's still in the early stages. It can be molded. You can create something in the vision that you want to move towards in the future, and help people make the transition from not knowing Web3 to Web3, for example, and help them grow in that space so that they are prepared for the future.
What are some of the ways that you're using Web3?
Well, one I've been learning and studying about what is Web3, because there are a lot of people that are explaining it and not everyone is explaining it in the right way. One of those insights, for example, is there's a difference between Web 3.0 and Web 3. Didn't know that, but I always thought that there's a huge difference. So make sure that you know what you're talking about. And the other part, and that's my way, I love to do it. I'm not a theorist. So as much as I love listening to people, I also like to dive in. So for me, it's trying things out. And that meant buying crypto, even discovering how to do that. I had no idea. If you asked me this question 2 years ago, I'm like, what is that? But also leaning into social tokens and creator tokens. I had never heard of it until I got one in an account and thought, but what can I do with it? What does it mean? How can I use it? So I like to dive in. I've also got a couple of NFTs because I wanted to experience what it's like to mint and to buy one, essentially, for those of you that don't know. But also, what does it mean? What can I do with it? And what are the different variations? And I've got my own social token now. So I've also been using it and trying it out for myself and seeing what can I do with something like that.
I love that. And do you want to share a little bit about your social token?
Absolutely. So my social token is called Flow, and it's connected to the Flow Club, which is a community of people, transformational leaders, who prescribe to living from the inside out instead of the outside in. So instead of living up to the expectations and success metrics of society and the outside world, we help you define your own definition of success and leaning into that and doing that in a group of like-minded people.
That's awesome. So as we're kind of coming to the end, give us some homework, give us some action items that we can do that are super easy, let's say, but then maybe a little bit more advanced, so that we can all become transformational leaders and female disruptors at the same time.
Yeah, awesome. So the activity or the homework, if you would like to call that, I would recommend to take 15 minutes and journal about the question, how am I already showing up as a transformational leader? Because I can guarantee you one thing, you're already doing it. You might not be aware of it, but ask yourself that question. And it may take you a couple of sittings, but it starts there. It starts by thinking, how am I already a transformational leader? And then from that, how can I lean into this more? What are some of my strengths that I can use to take on that role? And what's the ripple effect that I would love to create? When you're aware of the answers to these questions, and they don't have to be perfect. I didn't know exactly how I was going to guide. I didn't know how I was going to coach. I've made so many different iterations in the last couple of years, but it's good enough for now. It's your best thinking in this moment. That's what I would recommend you do as homework.
And I think also add to the list of what do you most love doing every day, right?
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's the strengths. So for me, the definition of strengths are the things that you're really good at and that you enjoy doing.
Mm-hmm.
And that intersection is where the magic lies.
Okay, awesome. And we have a couple, I don't know if anybody has any questions, but I would love to know like any resources that you can recommend, like maybe it's reading or blogs that you follow that we can also follow, and where can we catch up with you if we want to talk to you more about coaching?
Awesome. So you can find me on LinkedIn. I think that's the best platform to look up to me. It's my name, so you don't have to come up with a weird name. That's the way to reach out to me. And number two, there are a couple of good books I would recommend on transformational. Although there is one book that I would recommend. I am part of the Association of Transformational Leaders here in Europe. It's the association that has been around for a decade now. And they published a book, all transformational leaders, a group of transformational published a book with tips on how to be a transformational leader. So I would recommend that book from the ATL Europe.
Okay, great. Well, Loubna, thank you so much for being a female disruptor. This has been so enlightening and transformational to me and inspiring. So I really appreciate it. And thank you, everybody. If you're here live, if you are here watching the pre-record, we appreciate you. And we will see you on the next session. Thank you, Loubna, and namaste.
Bye for now.